Bike's running so good.
Got a sort of drives the supercharger. I just can't seem to stop that leak. Air fuel ratio map. This down here is a Rotrex C1560 supercharger. I bought a kit for my 2020 Triumph Bobber Black because I missed the power of a sport bike, but I needed to buy my bobber because my body's too broken to ride sport bikes and things like that. Also, I knew it would make great content and I could make a lot of content for it so I could grow my channel. But was it worth it? The supercharger comes as a kit from TTS Performance in the UK. They also offer kits for Harleys, other Triumphs and a range of sport bikes. They do quite a few kits actually, and even cars I believe. I'll put a link for them in the description. I'd just like to say before we get too far into this that I'd pay for this kit with my own money. I'm not affiliated with TTS or sponsored by them in any form. This is my unbiased opinions of my own experiences with the kit. So as a kit, it should come with everything you need to get it fitted and get it going. So, was that the case? Was it bolt-on performance? Was it easy? Can anybody do it? Is it legal? Is it reliable? How much horsepower is it? Is it any good? Well, I'm going to answer all these questions for you. I've been into drag racing for a long time. Back in the UK I used to race V-dubs. And when I came over here to sort myself out a new life, I haven't had the budget to do that sort of thing for a long while, what with buying houses and stuff like that. But more recently I've been in a better position to do that sort of thing. I still don't have the budget to do it how I want it, but I had my 75 horsepower bobber, I had the bobber vlog, and I thought it'd make great content to do a bit of drag racing with it. And I live 15 minutes from the drag strip. So I did. I took the bobber to the drag strip and was sort of running 12-second quarters with it. It had a big exhaust on it and a D&K tune works, but that was about it. But me being me, I always like to progress with things and develop things, and I love the development of drag racing and messing about with bikes and cars and modifying stuff to make them better. So it wasn't going to stop there. But drag racing, it's all about getting that little slip of paper with a time slip on it.
Thank you.
Which would be really cheap to make on Photoshop, but you don't do that. You do it for the journey and the development of going through what you go through, the challenge, to get that bit of paper. And if I'd have known where this was going to take me with the bike and stuff like that, I would have been much better off actually buying a written off bike to do it with, or the easiest way is just to buy an old sport bike, which is way more powerful and way faster to start with and way cheaper. But I like taking cool stuff which is a bit more inferior and then making it a lot better. But it's a very expensive way of doing it, by getting a sort of expensive bike to start with for what it is and buying expensive bits for it. If I just had a purely race bike which didn't have to be street legal and stuff like that, it would be much cheaper, and there's other ways I could go about that as well. But actually a big challenge of having a street legal machine is also keeping it street legal and not getting into too much trouble and getting it impounded on the street. TTS market this kit as a kit, which it is, it's real bolt-on power. But is it as simple as that? Can anybody do it? Well, if you know your way around an engine and you know boost, then you certainly can. But if you're just capable of fitting a few bolt-on accessories and stuff, you could do it, but you're probably going to need a bit of help, quite a bit of help maybe. I'd like to say there's great support from TTS themselves, but from my own experience and the consensus of other purchasers, there's quite a bit of room for improvement there. Apparently the kit comes with a full colour instruction manual. Well, mine didn't. Mine come with most of the pages missing, because when I asked TTS, they said it was because the instructions are for a Thruxton, so they don't really apply to yours. So instead of giving me ones which apply for a bobber, they gave me nothing. But that doesn't matter, because for me that was great, because getting all the bits and pieces out of the box was great fun. I could see where every bit went and I knew what every bit did. So that wasn't really a problem for me. But as far as a kit goes, you'd think you'd have all the instructions you need. And as for supplying a base map, well, that was a whole other story altogether. It's probably easy if you've got a power commander or you want to shell out for a power commander, because they can supply you a map for that, no problem. But I was using Tune ECU, especially on a bobber where you haven't really got a lot of room to fit another control unit like for a power commander. But what I did manage to do was I managed to look at the power commander map and see where the timing was altered, and then build a Tune ECU map around that. But the most help I got was from another purchaser who got in touch with me and actually helped me with the information I needed to know as to what the timing would be in the AFR and whereabouts it come onto boost and stuff like that. So he was a great help, and I managed to actually build my Tune ECU map from that. And I do have plenty of videos on my channel about it. But it would be nice if a company like TTS, who do make an awesome product, could have that side of things sorted out as well. Like maybe a resources page on a website where customers can actually log in and download the relevant base maps. I understand from their point of view they don't want to be responsible for the tuning on people's bikes, because if you don't get it right, it does cause damage. But a base map is just that. It's a base map which gets it going so that you can get it on the dyno or whatever and get it tuned properly. The way everything fitted together was absolutely awesome. The engineering from TTS is really, really good. Hats off to them for that. And everything fitted really well. I did have to modify a couple of little bits very slightly, but not much at all. And I did spend quite a bit of time getting the oil filter hidden and the oil lines ran nicely. So it looked good. And it was all fairly easy to install. Me being a mechanic though, might find it a bit easier than a lot of people. But everything was pretty simple. You didn't have to get really involved in too much. There is some wiring and stuff what needs to be done, and the fuel injector plugs and stuff like that have to be swapped over, because you do actually get bigger fuel injectors for it as well. So that's another thing that needs mapping to sort that out. But you don't really need any specialist tools until you come to actually tune the bike. And it is a good idea to actually get it on a dyno to get it sorted out properly. And it's also very advisable to actually get the forged pistons for it as well, because the Triumph pistons for the Thruxton and the bobber are really not up to it, especially the Thruxton ones, because they're higher compression. And there's also a grey area with the conrods, I believe, as well. The TTS rep for this area has a Thruxton and had some aftermarket conrods made, but I'm not sure why. I think it's all a bit secret squirrel. No one's actually told me why he replaced them. Secret squirrel. But you can actually pay extra and get forged pistons, which I did. But I initially tuned it on a dyno with the cast pistons and did break them. There's videos all about that. I've got a bit of a low oil pressure problem at idle, which I've suspected may be damage to the conrods, but I can't really get any information about that, so I'm not sure about that yet. But that's still ongoing. It's not too much of a problem because it's only at idle, but one of the reasons for buying the kit was to help the channel grow. And it's great. It's been a really good learning curve for me, especially getting into Tune ECU and building maps and stuff like that. Because as a mechanic working for a main agent, you're very limited to what you can do with that sort of stuff. And it's been a while since I've done it. But I really enjoyed that. And I'm a lot more confident now, so I'm really keen for the plans I've got for the future. Well, the kit's put together in the UK, and coming from the UK, I know you can get away with a lot more modifications and stuff on bikes and cars and stuff than you can other places in the world. So the legality of it, you really need to do your own research as to where you live. I live in Queensland, Australia, and to have any modifications done, you need to get them looked over by an engineer and signed off by the engineer. So things like brakes and stuff like that come into the equation. So I'm glad I got the bobber black, because it's got the twin Brembos on the front, which is why I got the bobber black, because I road tested a normal bobber with a single disc on it, and the brakes are pretty crap. So instead of getting a second-hand bobber, I had to shell out for a new one. But I'm glad I did. Like I've said before, it's a great piece of engineering, and it looks factory, and everything fits together well, but there's nothing else on it I can see that's going to cause a problem. I'm in Queensland, Australia, and here there's a couple of bits on the kit which aren't legal. And that is, see that little guy there? That's the crankcase breather, the original crankcase breather for the bike. And there's normally a pipe comes off of that, goes into the air filter. And because there's no air boxes anymore, because you've got the charge pipes there, they give you that little guy to stick on there, so you can have it dangling here or try and hide it somewhere, which is a bit difficult on a bobber. But it's not actually legal here in Queensland to have your breather system vented to the open air. So what I've got is I run a pipe off of this straight into the inlet there. It's not actually connected at the moment. And I've also made a little oil trap for it as well, so not too much oil goes in there. The other thing that isn't legal here in Queensland is the dump valve, the bypass valve, blow-off valve, whatever you want to call it. They can't be vented to open air either, which is a stupid rule, and I don't understand why, because it's just air. This is a blow-through system, not a pull-through system, so there's no fuel going through there. So I don't see the problem with venting air out into the air. So the kit really needs to come with a bypass valve which has an outlet what you can plumb back into the inlet pipe, like down there for example. But they don't, they send you one of them. To get this engineered properly and have it fully legal, you need to have that plumbed back into the intake. I don't understand why that rule is. I think it's stupid, it's dumb. Maybe it's the noise that people find offensive. I'm not sure. Oh, and of course the exhaust. Leaving the standard exhaust on it is really going to restrict what you're doing by trying to create more airflow through the engine. So it will need a bigger exhaust to get the benefit from it, but I'm pretty sure if you're going as far as putting a supercharger on your bike, you've already got a big exhaust on it. And that's another legal thing you need to look into too. As for reliability, the jury's still out on that one due to the oil pressure issue I've had. It might not be anything to do with the supercharger itself, but I'm pretty sure it is. Because once you get a lot more power out of engines, it does put more strain on everything, like the brakes, the chain, the tyres are all going to be under more stress. The gearboxes on these are pretty bulletproof apparently, so that's not a problem. I have given it lots of abuse on the drag strip. But as far as the supercharger and the pulleys and the engineering of the kit, I'm very confident that it's all very reliable because it's so well engineered and I haven't had any trouble with anything. I did have the boost hoses blowing off when I first installed it, but I've made a modification to them and I've got a video about how you can do that as well. I'm very confident to take this on a long ride. I ride it to work and back every day. I've got the small 80mm pulley on it and it's great. I will be looking into the possible issue with the rods and oil pressure in the near future. I haven't done it up until now because I haven't had the time or money, but I'm going to make an engine stand, strip down the bottom end, and we'll get the rods and crank checked out. I may not do anything to fix it at that stage, but at least it's content of letting you guys know how the bottom ends work and what's in them and how much of a job it is to do that. So that's going to happen in the near future. I haven't really been that bothered about it either because the oil pressure's okay when it comes off of idle, so it's not a problem really at the moment. Right, as for horsepower figures, The standard bobber is about 75 horsepower at the wheel, and when I first had this on a dyno I did see 130 horsepower with the 85mm pulley on it, and I tuned it down to about 120 horsepower just to make sure it was on the safe side of things. Now I've got the 80mm pulley on. I don't think it's any more horsepower top end, but it's definitely got a lot more torque because the supercharger is spinning up earlier. And the reason it hasn't got more power is because of the restriction in the outlet for the supercharger, because the frame's in the way on the bobber. On the Thruxton you don't have that problem. So TTS claim that you can get up to 170 horsepower with the 80mm pulley. And there's a bigger plenum chamber on the Thruxton as well.
Low compression pistons in, we can take that to around 165, 170 horsepower. Go more if you want, but we're trying to be a little bit conservative. We only like to double the horsepower, not triple it.
But a modification for the near future is to modify the frame and the outlet on the supercharger so I can actually get 15 psi of boost out of it. The torque figures I had when it was on the dyno were around 125 Newton meters. So I don't know what they are now, but the standard bobber I think is about 105. So it is great usable power. The power comes on straight away, well with the 80mm pulley it does, and it pretty much comes on straight away with the 85mm pulley as well. So there's torque improvement all the way through the range, and it's very smooth. So it is bolt-on performance, and yes, it was worth it. I'm really pleased that I've done this. It was a big investment for me. It cost me a lot of money, but it's allowed me to make a lot more content and bring the channel forward. The channel makes bugger all money anyway, so everything I invest is just an investment really. It might take off in the future, it might not. So there you have it. It was worth it. It may sound like I'm being a bit harsh on TTS, but I'm trying to get an unbiased opinion and as much information out there to you guys. And these are little obstacles that I've come across. TTS have helped me out. They've supplied me with an awesome package. The bobber kit is absolutely awesome. I love it. So hats off to them. They've done a really good job, and I'm sure they're really busy looking at the amount of bikes they do superchargers for now. So there is room for improvement in these little areas. And this video has dragged on a little bit now, so if you're still with me and there's something else you wanted to see in the video, or you didn't think I covered, or what I know, let me know and I can make another video about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, ask me anything, and have a great day. I hit this corner at 80 in third.